CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris joins me now from Washington. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Vlad.
So yesterday, Trump kicked off a rally in Florida by calling his recent slide in the polls inaccurate. Does Donald Trump at this point have any chance of winning this election without Florida?
Short answer, no. I mean, he just doesn't. If you look at our battleground estimate, he is 79 electoral votes short of a majority. Florida is the largest of the states that are, I think, up for grabs. 29 electoral votes there. If he doesn't get that, there just aren't enough states or enough electoral votes left for him to close that gap. So Florida's a must-win for him, but as are states like North Carolina, Ohio, even something like Pennsylvania, which is almost out of reach for him at this point. He needs to make up that difference. 79 electoral votes, that's a lot considering the number of battleground states that are left.
Let me ask you about another state, another battleground state. Our new CBS poll, as you know, shows Hillary Clinton is down just 3 points in Texas. Now, even if she doesn't win that state this time around, and there are a lot of people who don't believe that she can, what are the sort of the long-term implications for numbers like this as far as the Republican Party is concerned?
Yeah, that's sort of the $64,000 question. I mean, it's not really about Texas, but overall, what's the implication for the Republican Party for a Trump loss in general? But specifically with Texas, I think this is really a candidate-specific issue, not necessarily a party-specific issue in Texas. I don't see Republicans having much trouble in Texas anytime soon, and I don't think they're going to just because Donald Trump doesn't perform as well as other Republican presidential nominees have in the past there. It's not to be said, though, however, that there are demographic changes happening in Texas. I just don't think they're happening quickly enough for somebody like Hillary Clinton to get to win Texas this year, or even Democrats in the next few years to really start to turn that state purple yet.
All right, let's talk about what happens after the election if we can. I know that this is crunch time going into it, but looking beyond Donald Trump, there are now Democrats going after some down-ballot Republicans who are backing Trump. Saturday, Hillary Clinton went after Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, as you know, on Sunday, President Obama, who's been doing this for months, called out Republican Congressman Joe Heck. So are there any sort of Senate races that you're looking at specifically that sort of will have the biggest impact across the legislature?
Well, let's put it this way. So the Republicans currently have a 4-seat majority in the Senate. So that means if the Democrats pick up 5 seats, they will have a clear majority there. There are 11 seats that we're looking at, 11 races that we're watching, whether it's Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania. We're looking at Arizona, Illinois, Indiana, Nevada, those states. So if the Republicans can pick up 7 of those 11 that we're watching, then they're in the clear. They won't have a huge majority, but they'll keep control of the Senate. If the Democrats can, again, pick up 5 or even 4 and make it a 50-50 Senate with Hillary Clinton as president, they would have the tiebreaker vote with the vice president. That would change the dynamics next year for Hillary Clinton. I think while you're seeing her go out there now and try to gin up support for Democratic Senate candidates is because that will give her that much more of a mandate in terms of governing if she wins on November 8th.
And with the Trump camp, as far as they're concerned, Donald Trump has not really focused that much on down-ballot Republicans. But yesterday in Florida, he asked his supporters to make sure that he has a Republican Congress if he's elected. You were just talking about how it might work for Hillary Clinton, focusing on these down-ballot Republicans who may be tied to him. Could it work in the same way in that it elevates them?
Well, the problem with the Republican side is you're seeing Republican down-ballot candidates, whether it's Senate candidates, House candidates, try to figure out how to even deal with Donald Trump as at the top of the ticket. They don't necessarily want to hitch their wagon to Trump because of all the controversial things he said and sort of the direction he's going in the polls. Some of them are sort of staying quiet about it. They don't want to alienate Trump supporters and Trump voters because they know they need them on November 8th. However, others are basically saying, you know what, we don't need this guy. We're trying to run away from him. We want to win our own race. And so they've sort of thrown him over the side of the ship and are running away from Donald Trump. So it's a lot more complicated on the Republican side than it is for Hillary Clinton and Democrats such as President Obama to go out there and speak on behalf of Democratic candidates.
And reading the political tea leaves, Steve, what's your sense of the tone that the Trump campaign wants to set in these final days before the election? I mean, you know, this weekend you had Donald Trump there on the campaign trail, spending 15 or 20 minutes talking about the women who have come forward to accuse him of sexual harassment, talking about, you know, he wants to sue them, rather than focusing on a lot of the issues that people that may be on the fence may be wondering about?
Well, he is focusing on all of that stuff. That's the problem, is not just one singular focus. Like, is he going to go after Hillary Clinton, or is he just going to talk about issues, or is he going to relitigate all these issues, controversies that have come up? And he's doing all of that, and that's part of the problem. And I think what we're seeing moving forward for the last 2 weeks is what we've seen all of this campaign. There just is a lack of focus. You mentioned the lawsuits that he has promised against these women who have come out and said that he or accused him of sexual assault. Well, he's also talking about this contract with the voters, where he's talking about building a wall and renegotiating trade deals and repealing and replacing Obamacare. But at the same time, he can't stay on that message. He's talking about rigged elections and how the voting may be rigged on November 8th. So he's all over the place. And I think a lot of Republicans really are seeing that that's the biggest problem with Trump, is he's just been unable to focus on one thing. He's all over the map on his message.
And meanwhile, Steve, with regards to Hillary Clinton, I mean, WikiLeaks says it's prepared to reveal even more Clinton emails in the days ahead. She and her campaign has essentially pivoted from the discussion over WikiLeaks by just talking about the fact that the Russians are trying to influence the election. But it's got to be annoying some supporters of hers and those folks who may feel that the way that the Trump camp has positioned her reinforces this stuff, that she's secretive, that she's not accountable. I mean, why doesn't she just answer these questions rather than sort of playing rope-a-dope until the election?
She doesn't really need to. I think she feels they're looking at the polling, the same polls that we're looking at. They also have their own internal polls that say people already think she's not trustworthy or honest, yet she's still in the lead in almost all these polls that have been coming out in the last couple of weeks. So why admit to something when you don't really need to? Until it starts to have some sort of collateral damage for her campaign, she's just going to try to ride this out. Now, that's not to say that Trump hasn't found things in there that he's been throwing at her, and that there are things in there that I think some Democrats those who had supported Bernie Sanders are looking at and saying, this rubs us the wrong way. But right now, it's not having a negative effect on her campaign or her polling numbers. So there's no reason for her to take it head on. At least that's what I think they're figuring.
All right. CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris in Washington. As always, my friend, thank you.
Thanks, Vlad.